Hey movie lovers, I'm Craig Silliphant, the Movie Geek for the Feedback Society. Today we're going to talk about the Mr. Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor? The movie was made by Morgan Neville, who also made 20 Feet from Stardom, which was a popular documentary that I didn't love as much as a lot of other people did at the time. I thought there were way better music history docs coming out around that time, but that's another topic for another day. This movie tackles a bit of television history, telling the tale of Fred Rogers, aka Mr. Rogers. I don't want to give too much away in this review, but Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was a lot more radical than I remembered as a kid. When Rogers was young, he was about to depart for seminary school when he encountered a television. He saw the inherent possibilities in the medium, and since no one was making children's programming, he dove right in. He tackled topics like racism and war with the belief that you could speak to children as if they were actually people and they would learn. He believed that you could also slow things down in an era of increasingly fast-paced editing and noise. There's footage in the movie of him feeding fish, slowly peeling a potato, and watching a turtle move across a carpet. And most importantly, he told children that they were all unique and special, that they should love themselves for who they are, not who adults tell them they should be. And that he loved them too. Honestly, it's a very sweet and uplifting movie, and Rogers himself is something you probably couldn't replicate on the same level today. He'd be labeled some kind of pervert, probably. But by all accounts, he was not a pervert. While he had fears that drove him like anyone else, he didn't seem to have a lot of demons in the closet. The Fred Rogers you see on TV is pretty much the real Fred Rogers. That said, exploring this is the major issue that holds the movie back from being brilliant. While he was a good dude, the movie overdoes it. It's myth-making, not documenting. It pulls at several threads like the possibility of homophobia, a questionable relationship with his sons or his parents, but it frustratingly skirts over any significant potential conflict. It hints at a conflicted man, but it's more concerned with painting a picture of a saint. And while he was probably close to being a saint, no one really is, and the movie would have been infinitely more interesting had it addressed a broader version of him. It's almost as if the movie doesn't trust itself to take you by the hand and lead you into the darkness, that maybe you won't come out the other side of that darkness still believing in Rogers. I think it's a lack of trust in both Rogers and the audience, because I do think that even with some demons, Mr. Rogers would be well worth idolizing. There's also at least one major scene that would have made more sense with some context. We see Rogers meeting Coco the gorilla, and Coco removes Rogers' shoes. But the movie doesn't tell you that Coco watched Rogers every day and took off his shoes because it was what he did at the start of every episode. It's a nice moment, but it would have been so much more poignant without those missing details. But don't let me harsh you out too much. All the hits are there: how he saved public television, how he spoke out against things like racism, and how he taught us all to believe in ourselves. It got dusty in the theater a couple of times, even with my cynical heart of stone. It's a very sweet-hearted movie. Reviewing a documentary can be complicated. A fascinating subject isn't necessarily a great documentary. I'd heard great things about this doc, but while the subject matter is interesting, it's far from a brilliant documentary. Don't get me wrong, it's totally worth seeing, especially if you want a crowd-pleasing movie that will lift your spirits in these seemingly dark times. It's just not next-level brilliant. I'm Craig Silliphant, the Movie Geek for the Feedback Society. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and find more great pop culture writing and content at thefeedbacksociety.com.